Okay, welcome back, everyone. As we continue our Motzei Shabbos marathon on this beautiful Motzei Shabbos with beautiful Gemara, let me point out that we just started getting not long ago, very hard Masechta. We're already up to Daf Samach. Unbelievable. That's the power. That's Daf Yomi power. As Marshall will tell you, it's even better than bourbon. If he could fuel his cars with Daf Yomi, boy, it would be amazing.
Yeah, it's questionable about that. But,
yeah. Okay, it's better when you're on mute. David Helfgott is joining us, and we are sponsored again by AB Spry with the tefillah that everybody who needs to get their child into yeshiva should get in easily without heartache. This tefillah should help a lot of families. Also, we learn Nishmas, my father, whose yahrzeit for his neshama Yisera is tonight. Aaron Tzvi Ben Meir, a Holocaust survivor, surviving 3 selections by Mengele Yamach Shemai V'Zichra to bring up an amazing dar of Torah. Most Art Scroll Svarim, not only the Gemaras, all Art Scroll Gemaras, but most Art Scroll Svarim have passed by my brother Rav Yosef Usher's eyes. He is the merge editor of Art Scroll, and nothing really goes to print without his approval. So that's ascribed to my father, the incredible zechusim that he has from his wonderful children, and Eineklach, his neshama should have a great aliyah. He should be a Melz Yosher. That's Aaron Tzvi Ben Meir for his family, for all of us and all of Klal Yisrael. Sholchulei, bottom line of Daf Nun Tes Amid Beis, Sholchulei B'nei Galila l'Rebbi Chelbai. The B'nai Galila, the people of Galil, sent to Rabbi Chelbai, we need some Gaboyus instruction. Achrehen, after the Kayin and Levi, Mi Kairin, who should we call up? We need some guidance that we shouldn't have machlokes. Lo hava biyadei. Rabbi Chelbai didn't know. Now, this is a remarkable teaching tool. I mean, the Gemara has to Yidden have to learn throughout the millennia all over the world that Rabbi Chelbai didn't know. Why do we need to know that? The answer is it's okay for a big man not to know. I remember I was a little boy, and there was a rabbi that was giving a perek shir, and a woman asked a question. And he said he didn't know. And I heard the woman tell later her husband, what kind of a rabbi is he that he didn't know the answer to my question? It left a big reishim on me. Left a big reishim. People think that you have to know everything. This is a Gemara in Brachos. Gemara in Brachos says, Lamed l'shayncha leimer eini yodea. Teach yourself to say, I don't know. Says about great people. I'm very good at this. Very good at it. Lamed l'shayncha leimer eini yodea. Why? Because what's the other option? The other option is you have to make something up. Shema tisbade v'teaches. Unless you make something up, tisbade means to invent something, and you'll get caught. Because then somebody will know the real answer, and you'll be made into a fool. There's nothing wrong with not knowing. How can you know everything? We're humans. We're not computers. Today you have artificial intelligence, but we're not computers. So he said, I don't know. So Asav Shayla Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, they went and asked Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, Amalei, so he said, Achreyen Kairin Talmidei Chachamim Hamamunim Parnosim Ala Tzibur. Shlishi, you give the Talmidei Chachamim that are appointed as the heads of the Tzibur, as the Rabbanim. V'achreyen, and after them, Or after them, you give it to Talmidei Chachamim that are fit to be Rabbanim. You give it to Talmidei Chacham that were fit to be Rabbanim. And after them, B'nei Talmidei Chacham, the children of Talmidei Chacham, Shavli say Amunim Parnasim ala Tzibur, that their parents are the leaders of the Tzibur. And after them, Rashi Knesset, the administrative president, the Gabbai, the one who gives out the aliyahs and the people to daven, and then the Kaladam, and then everybody else. The people of Galil sent to Rabbi Chelba, now this doesn't mean a printed chumash. It means if they had a scroll just of Bereshis, or a scroll just of Vayikra, could they learn from a single chumash, a fifth? Lo have biyada, he didn't know. So Asa Shaila to Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, they asked Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, Lo have biyada, he didn't know either. So Asa Shal Bei Midrash, so they posed it to the think tank in the base of Medrash, Upashtua Meha. And by the way, you should understand that these aren't such very unusual questions. I mean, this is a question, what aliyahs to give first. I mean, that's nagay in every shul. A question about how to lane from 1/5, that was very nagay in those days. It's not like somebody goes over to a rabbi and says, well, I got this Shabbos oven that has this new type of equipment in it. Am I allowed to use it? So that means that the rabbi not only has to know all the halachas, but he also has to know all the inner workings of the newfangled oven that you have. And when he tells you, I don't know, you start scratching your head, that's why I pay membership? That's why I pay membership? I don't understand. So Ashel Shal Bei Midrasha. So Asa Shal Bei Midrasha. They came and they asked in the base Medrash, and they resolved it from that which Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani said in the name Rabbi Yonason, Sefer Torah shechasa Yuriya Achas, a Sefer Torah that's missing one column, ain't Korim by. So if it's missing one column, you can't. If it's only 1/5, you surely can't. However, the Gemara says that wasn't a good resolution. V'lohi, it's not a good analogy. If it's missing one column, then it's defective. It's not defective, it's 1/5. It's not defective. However, it was resolved by Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef, the great Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef, Dimrei Tovayo ain't korim b'chumashim b'beis hakneses. You can't lane from a chumash in the beis hakneses mishum kavod tzibur. It's not kavod tzibur. Now, here's another interesting thing. What about they didn't have enough money to have separate scrolls for the different Nevi'im? So instead, they made a scroll just with the 52 haftarahs and the other special haftarahs. Rabbi Yosef Dimrei Travayu Hai Sefer Haftarta, a scroll just made of haftarahs, also l'mikra b'Shabbos. You're not allowed to learn from it on Shabbos. My timer. You're not allowed to write that. There's no such a thing. You could write whole novies. You can't write a collection of Torahs. You're making your own book. You can't do that. And once you can't do it, we know that Dvarim Shebiksav, you're not allowed to learn it except from the proper place. And this is not a proper place. And Ma'abar Rashi says once you can't use it, it's muksa. Ma'abar Rashi, I'm a little too late nami aser. You can't even move it on Shabbos. My time, since it's not fit to lane from, so it has no use, therefore you can't even move it. However, that's not the halacha. V'lohi, shari l'tiltule, you could move it, v'shari l'mikribeh. Now why? So the truth of the matter is because they allowed it out of necessity. There was no other way. They didn't know by heart. You're not allowed to learn it by heart because it's Dvarim Shebiksav. You're not allowed to learn it by heart. And they couldn't afford to make Svarim for each of the Nevi'im. They had Svarim with Agadic, homiletic teachings, which they learned on Shabbos. During the rest of the week, they learned the Tukvakayim. They learned the hard sugyas. But on Shabbos, when it was a day of rest, they learned the Gadita. Now, they had a problem. It's not supposed to be written. Dvarim Shebal Peh, you're not supposed to write. However, because of persecutions, if they didn't put it to paper, they would forget it. That's what we mentioned in the Perek Shir. It would be impossible otherwise to remember the entire body of learning. It's a time to do for Hashem. They allowed you to know the Torah and write it down. It's impossible. They couldn't afford to write Svarim scrolls for each Navi. However, nowadays, we allow using printed material, but it's better, as the Magen Avram says, in some shuls they have a book of Haftarahs. The Magen Avram says it's better to have a full Tanakh. And that's what we have over here. We have a full Tanakh, and we learn from a full Tanakh. Of course, if you have scrolls, like they do at MTJ, like they do in the Yeshiva of Staten Island, that's even better. The problem with that is that you also got to have people every week to be able to learn from those scrolls. It's nice to have Yehuda from Harnov and all of our Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Ilya Shutman, all of our wonderful Zoomers, Dr. Block, joining us, even Marshall. I know you're touched. I know. It's very touching. Just getting underway here on a beautiful Motzei Shabbos. Time is it? Wow. You know, I talked about the chuk. I look at the time. It's already 20 after 11. Where that chuk is becoming more and more of a pipe dream. But it might happen, Rabbi say, if you're a night owl, I would say that you should check your phone because the chuk could be even as late as 1 a.m. So Dr. Block says, I'm ready for it. I'm ready.
It's right in the middle of the party.
Right in the middle of the party. That's right. I'll expect you there, Marshall. Abaya merabba. Abaya inquired of Rabbah. Mal lichtov Megillah latinik l'islamidba. What's the din? If you want to teach Ma'aseh Bereishis to the children, so could you write just a scroll with Bereishis on it? So there's a machlokes whether the Torah was given first piecemeal, that as Moshe Rabbeinu taught the Torah, he gave them Megillas, and then when it's finished, he attached them together. Or was it only written at the end? So the Gemara says this shaila about whether you could write just a small scroll to teach the children, we declare according to the Man Yom that the Torah was given first in parts. It was only written whole at the end. Well, so therefore, came in the Megillah Nitna, since when Moshe Rabbeinu taught it, he gave it in pieces, kaisman, so you could write to children in pieces. Or maybe came in the Idbak, once it was all put together and glued together, Idbak, after that, you have to write only a whole Torah. It was given whole. Came in the Chasumanitna, since it was given whole, and kaisman. Or perhaps came in the Lo Yavsher, since it's not possible, kasvinan, you could write separate scrolls. You're not going to give a whole Torah to each child. Amalei, so he said, "En kaisman." You can't write separate scrolls, small scrolls. Matam, lefishen kaisman. It's not proper. That's not what you're allowed to do. So the Gemara says, did they not write just small sections of the Torah? Eisvei, we just learned, it wasn't long ago that we were learning Saita. Right? Nadarim, Nazir, and Saita. By the way, it's my feeling that the beginning of Gittin, this first 60 blot, were a lot harder than Nadarim, Nazir, and Saita. That's just my personal feeling. So Eisvei, this is referring to Hilnei Hamalka. She gave gifts to the temple. Af hi asa tabla shelzav. She made a tablet of gold. Sheparsha Saita ksuva aleh, that had the parish of Saita written on it, so that when they wrote the formula of the Saita to give it to her and to mix it into the bitter waters, they copied from the tablet of gold. So you see, they wrote just one portion of the Torah. On Reb Shimon Lakish Mishim Rabbi Yanai ba'alef beis. They only wrote the first letter of each word. Eisvei, Kishu Kaisev, when he wrote it, Roya v'Kaisev. He saw on the tablet and he wrote it. V'Roya v'Kaisev Masha Kasev b'tablet. So it seems to me that everything was written on the tablet. Says, well, no, Ema Kamosha Kasev b'tablet. When he saw the Rashi Tevis, the first letter, he knew what to write. Eisvei, Kishu Kaisev, when the Kayin wrote it, Roya b'tabla, he looked at the tablet for Kaisev. Masha Kasev b'tabla. When he wrote what was written on the tablet, Mahu Kasev b'tabla, what did it say on the tablet? Im shachav, if he slept with her. Im loy shachav, if he didn't sleep with her. So you see, they didn't just write the first letter. Says the Gemara, it was alternate. Im shachav, and then the rest of the pasuk they wrote the first letter only. Im loy shachav, and then the rest of the pasuk they wrote the first letter only. It was b'sei rugin. It was alternating. Kitanoi. This question of whether you could write separate scrolls, mini scrolls for Talmidim, is dependent on the machloikis tanoim. Ein kaisim megillah latinik l'slamidba. You can't write a short scroll for a child to teach him. However, vim daitoi lahashlim, if you plan on finishing it off after for a Sefer Torah mutter. Rabbi Yehuda says you can write, as long as you write it in full sections. Bibereshis adar amabel. You have to write from the beginning in Bereshis until the story of the Dar Mabel, until Noach. B'Toras Kahanim in Vayikra ad Vayibayam Hashmini, until the 8th day, until it's the whole story of the Karbanas, you could write in one section. Rabbi Yechon Mishum Rabbi Bana, Torah Megillah Nitna. Here we get the machlokes of whether the Torah was first written only whole, or as Moshe Rabbeinu taught it, he wrote it in sections. So Rabbi Yochanan says in the name of Rabbi Bana that the Torah was written in sections. Shenemar Oz Amarti, David HaMelech said, then I said, Hinei Basi. I realized that I came already, I was already mentioned in Chumash, B'Megillah Sefer Kosev Alai. It was written already about me, a reference in Megillah Sefer. So we see that the Torah is called Megillas. So it was written in sections. Shimon L'Lakish Torah Chasumanitna. Torah was given in a whole. Shenema L'Koyach Es Sefer HaTorah Azois. Take this Sefer. So it was only written as a full Sefer Torah. So the Gemara says, no, that means that afterwards they glued it together. After they glued the sections together, it was called Sefer HaTorah Azais. So isn't the proof that the Torah is scrolls? The whole Torah could be referred to as a Megillah. He said to me, Ma Torah, What do you see? Ani Raya Megillah, I see a Torah flying. Inami Likid Rebbe Levi, even though Moshe Rabbeinu only made the Torah whole, but he put in 8 sections for the Hakamas HaMishkan. The Amar Rebbe Levi, Shmeina Parshiyos Nemra B'Yom, there were 8 parshiyos that were written down B'Yom Shukam by Mishkan, and Elohein, Parshas Kahanim, the Parshas Kahanim, Parshas Leviim, Parshas Tameim, those who are Tamei, and the Parsha of Shiluach Tameim, that you should send outside in the Machana Tameim, or Parshas Achrei Mos, which talks about Yom Kippur, and the procedures of Yom Kippur, or Parshas Shisuya Yayim, that you're not allowed to drink wine, or Parshas Neiris, and the Parsha of Ba'aloiska, or Parshas Paraduma, and the way to be Matar Tamerim, the Parsha of the Paraduma in Chukas. 2 lines from the top of Daf Samech Hamid Beis. Amar Rabbi Lazar, Torah Roiv Biksav Umiyat Al Peh. This is very interesting. The Torah, most of information can be extrapolated from Torah Shebiksav through the Yud Gimel Midas Shatorah Nidreshes Behem, Rabbi Yishmael's 13 principles of derivatives, how to derive things, not derivatives, how to derive things. Most of the knowledge can be mined from the written Torah, and only a miyat is oral, halacha l'moshe misinai. Shenema echtav le'rubei Torasi, I wrote for him the majority of my Torah, k'may zar nechshavu, but they consider it as a strange thing. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Roiv al Peh, most of it was given in the oral law, Umiyat Biksav, and only a minority is written. Shnamar ki al pi advarim ha'ela, by the mouth of these things. Most of it, the bris was made for that which is mostly oral. V'idach nami aksiv echtav loy rubei Torasi, the majority of the Torah. So he says, no, hahu itmue kamatama. He was amazed. Echtav loy rubei Torasi. Should I have written the majority in the Torah? Even what is written is like strange to him. Which implies that the bris was made mostly for that which is oral. Says the Gemara, that's because that which is oral is the hardest part. The bris was given because we engage in even the hard stuff that was given orally. Dorish Reb Yehuda ben Achmeni, Meturgemanei de Reb Shimon Lakish. Reb Yehuda ben Achmeni, the interpreter of Reb Shimon ben Lakish, expounded as follows. Ksiv, it says, Ksoiv lecha es hadvar me'ela. Write for you these words. V'ksiv ki al pi hadvar me'ela. By the mouth of these words. Haketzat. So here, this is the way it was before persecution. Dvarim shebiksav, things that are written, iyat rashay la'ayman al peh. You're not supposed to say by heart. You're supposed to read it from inside. Dvarim shebal peh, things that are oral, iyat rashay la'ayman biksav. You're not allowed to put it in writing. Now, by the way, the purpose of why the oral law was not supposed to be committed to paper is to ensure that everybody has a Rebbe. If the oral law was not committed to paper, the only way you would be able to know it is from a Rebbe. And that ensured that you had a Rebbe. The way it was supposed to be, see, like Marshall says, who needs Rabbi Weiss? I got an art scroll. Right? Who needs him? So that was, if however Marshall didn't have an art scroll, then he would need me. So that's the way it used to be. Because of persecution, we don't have a choice. So it had to be written down. The Bei Rabbi Yishmael Tana, Eila, these should be written. Eila Atakaisiv, Yat Atakaisiv Halachas. The oral law you're not supposed to write down. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Lekars HaKadosh Baruch Hu Brisim Yisrael Ela B'Shvil Dvarim Shebal Peh. Hashem made the covenant because of the oral law. Because of that which is given orally, Karati itcha bris ves Yisrael. I made with you and Klal Yisrael a bris. That's what we're doing now, Rabbi Yisai. We're cementing the covenant because we start off a week. Like David said, what better place to be than to learn two blot of Gemara in the beginning of the week. By the way, when they started the movement of the Motzi Shabbos learning programs, the Avos Abanim programs, it was the idea that what better way to start a week than to learn with your son? What better way? Now we learned to the Mishnah. I should mention, Rabbi say, that this week share will be 5 minutes earlier at 8:45, as we start moving a little earlier. I'm saying that even though in mountain time, I'm hoping it's going to work out that way, but I try that it shouldn't interfere with the share. When I'm up in the mountains, I try to daven mincha 6:15 at Krula and Marav at 10:30. It doesn't work on a Wednesday because by 10:30 we're still not finished the Chumash here, so I have to be I could daven in the Nickelsburger Shul in Woodburn at 11:30. So that's part of the options out to me, or I could daven by an earlier Mincha Marav. So anyway. But anyway, that's the way it's looking for this coming week. I will be here in Fairways at least Sunday and Monday night, probably Tuesday night as well. But I'm not sure, probably Tuesday night as well. Wednesday I should be back up in the mountains. The Chumash should be in the mountains, but we'll see. And we have been having a little bit of a difficulty getting sponsors for the Chumash. We're squeaking through, but if anybody wants to sponsor this week's Chumash, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. So now the Gemara takes us into the next stitch of the Mishnah. Ma'orvin b'bayis yoshin mipnei darkei shalom. You could put the Erev. You should put the Erev in its customary place. In other words, when we make an Erev, we put the box of matzahs in one house in the courtyard. Everybody joins with that house. We should keep it in the same house because of darkei shalom. So my time, Ilay Mishim covered that the person that had it shouldn't be insulted when you move it to another house. But we see that we're not worried about that. We see that we give people chances. Vahu shipura. Now, most Mefarshim learn that the shipura over here means that the shofar that they blew on Friday, they used to make 6 blasts to let the storekeepers know to shut the shots, to let the people in the fields know to come home, etc. That communal shofar, they moved around. Vahu shipura. Davi made Korah by Rav Yehuda. It was first by Rav Yehuda. Uleb'sayf by Rabba. Uleb'sayf by Rabbi Yosef. Uleb'sayf by Abaye. Uleb'sayf by Rabba. So you see, we moved it around. We weren't worried about COVID. Some learned that Shipura means a charity pushka. It's called the shofar, like the shofaris in the base of English that were wide on the bottom and narrow on the top. So therefore, the Gemara says another pshat. Elam yishim chshada. Because we're afraid that if the Erev was always by Rabbi Weiss's house, and then they come and they see it's not there, people might suspect that the people are carrying without an Erev. So therefore, we make sure that it's always in the same house that people are familiar with. And now we learned Barshu Karav La'ama. Remember, Marshall was complaining that I was drawing the water and damming up the canal, and then he had to wait for the water to come down to him. And he raised a ruckus. Yeah. Right? And when Marshall raises a ruckus, just watch your Frankfurters. So the Gemara says that in order for people not to fight, the person that was closest to the top got it first. Now we're going to see it's not so simple. You see, I'm at the top, but Mel is at the bottom. And Mel said, to the contrary, I should get it first because let the stream flow in its normal path. If anybody stops it before, they're stopping it from flowing the normal way. So Mel says, I'll take first, and then the one next to me on the bottom should take next. Because anybody that stops it up earlier is stopping the stream from flowing in its normal course. Nice argument, Mel. Pretty good way, and I have to admit, there's a ring of legitimacy to that, right? So says the Gemara, Itmar, B'nai Nara, the people of the river, Rav Amatatoishas Mayim Bereishis. The guy at the bottom gets to drink first. V'Shmuel Amar Yiloishas Mayim Bereishis. The one at the top. Now, Bidamazel, where you could draw water and it's not affecting the flow of the stream, then Kuli Amaloi Pligi, then everybody could take whenever they want. Ki Pligi B'Misker V'Ashkuye, where you have to dam it to divert it into your field. Shmuel Amar Ilvoi Shosamai Bereisha, I get to get it first. Damre Anan Makravina Tvei, I'm closest to the source. Rav Amar Tatoi Shosamai Bereisha, Mel gets it first. Dimre Nara Kapashte Lezel, let the river flow in its normal course. If you're going to dam it, it's not going to flow in the normal course. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. What are they arguing about? Isn't that what our Mishnah says? Tanan, Barak Korov La'ama, the well that's closest to the source, Mismale Rishon, gets first, Mipnei Darkei Shalom. So you see, it's me, not Mel. Tirgum is Shmuel Ali b'de Rav, so Shmuel interprets it according to Rav, Ba'ama Misaleches al Pi Borer. That's where it naturally flows into my well. I don't have to divert it. It just naturally flows into my well. Says the Gemara, well, if it naturally flows into my well, then what's the shaila? Iachi Maila Meimra. You got to hear what Mel says. Mel says, no. By it flowing into your well, you're stopping the course of the stream as you keep on taking from it. Block it up. Mao the same Matzi Imrele Savar Sachar Misker. You should block it up. The Ishke Benduza, and only carry the buckets out from the water. You shouldn't allow it to be diverted to go into you. Kamash Malan, that you don't have to do that. It doesn't say the halacha whether Mel gets first, whether I get first. Kol olam gvar. Whoever is mightier can take it. Might makes right. Reb Shimi bar Ashi also the Kami da Abaya. This is a great story. If you were living at the time of Abaya, wouldn't you want Abaya as your chavrusa? Berish says, I would have done anything to get Abaya as my chavrusa. So Reb Shimi bar Ashi also the Kami da Abaya. He came before Abaya. Amalei said to him, Loisman mar be'idna. Can I make a seder with you? Amalei, so Abaya told him the truth. Isli inna l'didi. I have my own sidarim where I have to prepare my shiurim, prepare my responsa. So then he said, V'loisvan mar belelia. So could the Rebbe learn with me in the night? Amalei isli maya lashkuya. I have to water my fields in the night. Amalei anom ashkina leilamar maya biyamama. I'll water the Rebbe's field in the day. V'loisman mar belelia. And then the Rebbe could learn with me in the night. Amalei l'chaye. No, it's a deal. It's a win-win. Sure, I'll do that. Azale Eloi. Now here, Rav Shimi bar Ashi didn't want to have to wait the whole day to get the water. So Azale Eloi, he went to the guy on top. Amalu Tatoi Shosamaya. He says the guy on the bottom has the rights. Also the tatay, then he went to Mel on the bottom. Amalu Eloisha Simaya Beresha. The one on top has the rights. Now, Emerson is he felt happy, safe to do that since we didn't pass him like either one. So he told the one on the bottom that's for the one on the top, the one on the top for the one on the bottom. So while the two of them were waiting, Adochi Sacher Misker, he dammed the water of Ashke and he gave to Abaya's field. He also came Abaya when he came before Abaya and he told him what he did. Amalei Kibay Trey, obviously. You did like two different opinions? It's either one or the other. You can't do like two. Abaya wouldn't taste the fruits of the crop the whole of that year. And that's being a chassid. He wouldn't touch the crops of that year. And we're going to stop over here, Rabbi Isai, as we're going to learn the Mishnah Yomis now.
I wonder if he learned with him.
It might have been that he told him afterwards, not in the beginning, because it says that he didn't eat of that year. The implication is it was like the whole year, not just one time. Let's go like this. This was Nun Tes and Samach. Let's put this in. Finish.
Tomorrow, 8:45, right?
8:45.
Excellent.
Good, Robert, thank you. Good Tavach.
Good Tavach, Irving. Gittin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good Tavach.
So this was 59 and 60, right?